approach to Tiananmen Square by troops from the west of Peking last night was typical of everything that has followed since then, and completely contradicts the Chinese government's claim that its target is a handful of hooligans, criminals, and counter-revolutionaries. As the army units approached the center of the city, they were firing into side streets, killing and injuring scores of incomprehending and unarmed men, women, and children.
Until that night of the 3rd, we all thought it was wonderful. We thought this was 6 weeks of people about to overthrow the communist regime in China. We were very excited by all this. We weren't tense at all. It was the only time in my many years in China that I was ever really happy.
NBC News correspondent Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. We all knew it couldn't go on forever, but no one thought it would come to this. A brutal massacre of Chinese students and other protesters by the Chinese army. The death count goes on tonight, and it is at least in the hundreds. It may go as high as 1,000 or more, and the fighting is not yet over. China is a nation at war with itself. As a result, the world is a much different place tonight.
1 million demonstrators have filled the streets of Beijing, and there have been demonstrations for democracy in all but 2 of China's 26 provinces and regions. In such a revolutionary situation, the atmosphere is pregnant with rumor. Will the government move troops in to break up the demonstrations? Premier Li Peng says Beijing is in a state of anarchy. And would the army do it if ordered? There are reports that the commander of a nearby army regiment has refused to move his men into the capital.
At this hour, there are hundreds of thousands of people here in Tiananmen Square, perhaps as many as 500,000, even more. In the history of communist China, there has never been anything like this.
It is now well into Sunday morning in Beijing. In the aftermath of last night's violence, one hospital doctor is now estimating that at least 500 people died in the bloodbath.
Deng Xiaoping and Prime Minister Li Peng made good on their threat to crush students and workers who dared to ask for democratic freedoms. But the cost will be high. The historically fraternal relationship between the people and the army is irreparably ruptured. Deng is assured a place in history as the butcher of Chinese youth.
Actually see in front of the row of tanks the guys standing there. He stood stock still for a while as the tanks came towards him, but as they moved he kind of followed around, and then legs astride, dancing around the tank's trying to move right, he's moving in that direction. A single man against the juggernaut of the state, Hercules saving Rome, you know, whatever. It's one of these sort of emblematic historical moments, a single man defiant, courageous against an army. At one point he climbed on top of the lead tank onto the turret and started speaking to the tank driver. Eventually, I think it was 3 people cleared him to the other side of the road, after which we never saw from him again.
Any mention of the Tiananmen Square massacre is banned on Chinese social media. So what happens when someone tries to search this on Chinese social media?
Yeah, so as you said, any discussion of the incident is censored on Chinese social media. And actually, there is a list of keywords that are deemed sensitive by the Chinese government. So this morning, I did a try to search for keywords on Weibo, and I typed in 8964, which is the year and the date where the incident happened. And on Weibo, it shows that no results can be found. And so other keywords such as Tiananmen incident or Tiananmen crackdown also have the same results.
25 years after thousands of Chinese students gathered in Tiananmen Square for an extraordinary show of civil disobedience, in Beijing today, there is a real sense of historical amnesia.
想问您一下，您知道就是1989年6月4号我们国家发生过什么事情吗？89年。89年。那不洪水吗？
What happened on June 4th, 1989 in China?
没有听说过。问我一个大众知晓的节日行吗？
行，您看看这个。
好，不知道。这个是什么呢？动乱是吗？
These days, the tanks have been replaced by an army of digital censors who wipe out any public mention of the Tiananmen Square crackdown.
It's an incredibly massive undertaking, shaping the minds of 1 billion people.
And the army firing at the innocent people.